Indochino is the world's largest made-to-measure menswear brand. They make suits, shirts, coats, and more. And everything is made to your exact measurement for a great fit. Plus, you get to personalize all the details, including your lapel, lining, and your own monogram. They have tons of things to choose from. You want a pink suit? You can get a pink suit. And speaking of pink suits, RJ Barrett's brand new collection with Indochino just dropped, featuring limited edition fabrics and jacket linings RJ helped pick out and design. Indochino's process is simple. Choose your fabric, pick your customizations, and submit your measurements. Your package will be delivered straight to your door in 2 weeks. You can get measured and design your suit at your nearest Indochino showroom, or you can do it yourself online at Indochino.com. Right now, you can get $30 off your total purchase of $399 or more at Indochino.com when entering Blue Wire at checkout. Plus, shipping is free. That's Indochino.com, promo code Blue Wire for $30 off your total purchase of $390 or more. Incredible deal for made-to-measure clothing. You really have no excuse anymore to wear clothing that doesn't fit. Twitter, if you are not already, at Haley O something. That's at HALEYOSOMETHING. For some reason, it takes me a little while to spell that out loud. This may or may not be my 3rd to 5th try in doing it. Who knows? No one will ever know. At Haley O something. Follow her. She's a tremendous follow and writer for The Ringer. Follow Hardwood Knocks on Twitter as well, at Hardwood Knocks. You can follow me on Twitter at Dan Favale, Favale. Follow Andy on Twitter at Andrew D. Bailey. Also follow Blue Wire on Twitter, where you can check out my tweets from that account, but also the other podcast promos from all the other great people in our network at Blue Wire Pods. Follow them already, please. I'm begging you again. Also begging you to continue rating, reviewing, and subscribing to the Hardwood Knocks podcast on iTunes. We can be found wherever else you're getting your podcast. Stitcher, Art19, Google Play, Blog Talk, YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We are everywhere. iTunes is still the best way, though, to help us out, to let us know you're out there, that you're listening. It takes 10 to 15 seconds out of your day. Search Hardwood Knocks on iTunes. Subscribe if you haven't already, for the love of God. Throw us that 5-star rating and then write whatever you want in the review section. It can be constructive criticism. You can compliment my humor or my lack thereof humor. Whatever you want to write, we're always reading it, but throw us that 5-star rating and we'll be happy to try and incorporate your feedback as we see fit. Lastly, but certainly not least, we want to shout out our sponsors this week. You already heard from Indochino at the top of this podcast, and we also want to shout out Roman and Harry's, who are bringing you the Hardwood Knocks podcast this week. Without further delay, though, let's talk some basketball, current events, surprises. We're buying or selling a bunch of different observations I made in the NBA that have to do with current events, news, rumors, all that stuff with Haley O'Shaughnessy from The Ringer. What it do, Hardwood Knocks listeners? I am Dan Favale, coming at you without my co-host Andy Bailey this time. I am, however, super excited to be joined by Ringer staff writer Haley O'Shaughnessy. Follow her on Twitter if you don't already, which you probably do, at Haley O something, at HALEYOSOMETHING. Haley, you're kind enough to make your 3rd appearance on the podcast, so I feel like hopefully we can now say friend of the podcast, Haley O'Shaughnessy. And how are you doing tonight?
I'm great and lovely to be on the pod as always.
So I've been in the habit, to get right into this, since I know your time is valuable, of asking all my guests this question: how do you league pass? It's something that I like to ask people because I like to see how the coolest hoops heads are watching games, and I'm wondering, are you zeroing in on one game at a time? Do your projects inform what you're watching? Are you bouncing around when there are those, 8, 9, 10 game slates?
Well, I mean, above all else, if there's a very exciting finish, I've got to switch to that. But, last season I wanted to absorb everything more than the season before. So I tried to switch back and forth between every game on the slate, and I lasted maybe 3 weeks. It was exhausting, and I don't really think I picked up that much. You don't notice any kind of trends or anything interesting or even anything funny, certain player reactions or celebrations or anything that way. So now I'll just do maybe 2 at a time, flip back and forth, and yeah, just switch, throughout the night. There are definitely some games that I will avoid unless necessary. Some matchups are just a little too brutal, but unless it's like an easy slate. But mostly I'll always switch over to like what I like to call NBA Red Zone, which is the exciting finishes. Last night, I don't know when this is going out, but last night there were a ton of them, which was very fun. Or was it 2 nights ago?
There have been a lot of good finishes this year.
I think both. Yeah, has been an excellent week.
I'm happy you said all that because this has been, by and large, a wildly unpopular opinion by me, but I tend to get overwhelmed on like the, 9 or double-digit game slates, and I have to like, if I switch around, I feel like I don't take away any substance, and so I have to zero in basically on one game at a time.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's entirely a substance thing. It's like, are you even picking anything up? Honestly, like you can pick up a lot on a game from Twitter too. Like, let's say somebody is like, I can't believe that Harden is, has 30 points already. You could just switch over to that. So thanks for making it easy, Twitter.
The League Pass alert or whatever hashtag, that can be a godsend on Twitter.
Yes, definitely.
Is there a team that's been more watchable or just fun to watch for you this season than you could have expected leading in?
Oh, I feel like this is like the most cop out of an answer ever because it's so obvious, but it's the Suns, right? Like it's very exciting to see. I've been talking about this a lot. Like Devin Booker is growing out of being a bad team, good stats guy, and he's actually someone who has enough help, surprisingly, because of the roster to like really execute more as a leader. And it's bizarre but exciting to me that Kelly Oubre has taken this much on, and Aaron Baines is so much fun. So I mean, future Hall of Famer Aaron Baines. But I mean, the Suns have been very interesting to me, which is nice because they haven't been. Those have been games that I kind of, the last couple of years have obviously watched. It's my job, but kind of by force. So I'm happy for them. They've been suffering long enough. I also think the young Hornets are exciting.
Yes.
The Heat, as always, like I will always love Jimmy Butler. And the Wolves, of course, the Wolves, who I've suffered with through many years for no reason at all. I don't know why I watch them, but
Anthony Towns is eminently watchable.
Yeah, I mean, this year, like on a completely different level, and also I'm the first to criticize Andrew Wiggins. That's very well documented, but only because I believe in him, his ability to do more. So it's been nice to see that as well. And now like their roster is much different. If you look, it's transformed into one that has 3-point shooters. And Carl is still one of the best on the team, but for the last couple of years, he's been basically like he's led them and then it drops off sharply, especially with consistent ones. Like once Covington came along, that kind of changed, but there's no reason for him to be the one taking the majority of the 3-pointers. I mean, it definitely helps their team, but he needs to be doing other things as well.
The Wolves, I'm actually going to ask you about in a second, but they've definitely been fun to watch. The Suns, too. The Hornets have been a big one for me, and there's a chance that they've been one of the 3 to 5 teams I've watched the most. And I don't know if it's just if it was out of morbid curiosity, but I find them just so fun to watch. It's like, is Devontae Green ever going to stop hitting threes off the dribble? Is PJ Washington like really going to do basically a little bit of everything all year? I'm a bullish Miles Bridges guy. We have to learn who Cody Martin is at this point now. They've just been a lot more fun, and I appreciate James Borrego's sort of lineup combinations at different points in the game too. So they've been a team that I've enjoyed watching far more than I ever could have expected.
Yeah, and I think you have to give him a lot of credit for that, which is exciting and also kind of weird because it's like a breakup where you knew that both people would be better without each other, but like it's nice to see Kemba thriving and the Hornets being, I don't know if I'd say thriving, but being fun, being something different. So it's weird because I'm like, wow, it kind of sucks that this happened once Kemba left, but I feel like he's very happy. The other day is Celtics 8-game win streak was the longest of his career. So I think that he is
sad, yeah.
He's very happy to be gone in Boston.
Kemba might be the most likable guy in the NBA, and if not, he's close to it. They had that text message thread in Charlotte last year called Kemba and the Avengers, and it was basically him and like all of Charlotte's no names. I just thought that was fantastic. He just seems like such a cool person.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy. I've interviewed him once before, and he was very helpful. And we were just talking about the guy who cuts his hair. So there was no reason for him to give me a 20-minute interview for that, but he did.
I feel like players probably appreciate stuff like that, though, because they get questions about everything else. And so a topic like that might be something they're more inclined to get passionate or get into in depth.
I hope so. I feel like I only ask offbeat questions.
I would think offbeat questions are fun.
Well, thank you. But you're also gassing me up because I'm on your podcast.
That's true, too. Is there a team that you didn't foresee flirting with title contention that is now kind of entered the fray this season?
That's tough because some of the teams we just mentioned, like the Suns and the Wolves, ones that have had like very impressive records out of the gate. I don't know that. I mean, I think that it's slightly sustainable. Like it's sustainable that they're going to take another jump. I don't think actual title contention is probably in play. There's probably one in the Eastern Conference. Let me
maybe like a Miami or a Toronto, I suppose.
I mean, Miami needs more. I think that, let's see, they're like second in the Eastern Conference right now. They need to trade Dragic and get someone else in his place. He's constantly injured. He's never going to be enough. They have a lot of potential with Jimmy, and they're exciting young guys. The Raptors is interesting. I would agree with you there. If Lowry can stay healthy this season, and if last year's postseason didn't wear him out too much, like, it's funny because we were talking the other day, not we, but like I was talking to some of my coworkers the other day about the Raptors bench and how we were like, God, it's one of the worst in the league. And then you watch them and you're like, oh, Nick Nurse has turned this into something. And that's always exciting. And OG has progressed again this year. And I don't know, like hopefully Serge can keep offering something. And then, Pascal, obviously. The revelation upon the revelation, like he's so much fun to watch, and I think that he has already surprised people with the way that he's developed even from last year, which is crazy because last year he made the largest jump in the NBA. Literally, they gave him an award for it.
Guys are terrible at taking care of their health. Whether it's a knee injury, bad back, or something worse, guys are usually more comfortable rubbing some dirt on it than seeing a doctor. I'm guilty of it myself. I dislocated my shoulder just a few months ago. After it popped back in, rather than seeking immediate medical attention, I just wanted to continue about my daily life, deal with the pain, and hope that it would eventually get better without really doing anything to rest it or make sure that it gave me proper range of motion. The same is true for erectile dysfunction. Studies show 70% of guys who experience ED don't get treated for it. Thankfully, Roman created an easy way to chat with a doctor online. With Roman, you get medical care for ED, if appropriate, from the comfort and privacy of your own home. You can handle everything online in a convenient, discreet manner. Getting started is simple. Just go to getroman.com/bluewire and complete an online visit. If your doctor decides that treatment would be appropriate, they can prescribe genuine medication that can be delivered in discreet packaging right to your door with free 2-day shipping. Guys, go talk to the doctor. Erectile dysfunction can be tough to tackle, but it's really important to get checked out. With Roman, it's easy to get connected to a doctor. Just go to getroman.com/bluewire to get a free online visit and free 2-day shipping. That's getroman.com/bluewire for a free visit to get started. getroman.com/bluewire. Humans have been shaving for thousands of years. During that time, the secret to a great shave hasn't changed much. The ancient Greeks didn't need flex balls, they didn't need heated handles, and neither do you. That's why Harry's doesn't overcharge you to add gimmicky features to their razors. They focus on delivering what actually matters. Sharp, durable blades at a fair price. I love Harry's because it gives me the closest shave ever with an easy glide, and the razors come at a low price. Do us a favor. Check out harrys.com/bluewire for your free trial today. Harry's is a return to the essential. Quality, durable blades at a fair price. It comes out to just $2 per blade. Harry's is also just super convenient. Blade refills are shipped right to your house when you sign up for a subscription. And there's no risk for trying them out. If you don't love your shave, let them know and they'll give you a full refund. Listeners of Hardwood Knocks can redeem their Harry's trial set at harrys.com/bluewire. You'll get a weighted ergonomic handle for a firm grip, a 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and trimmer blade, rich lathering shave gel with aloe to keep your skin hydrated, and a travel blade cover to keep your razor dry and easy to grab on the go. Go to harrys.com/bluewire to start shaving better today. This was I'll skip ahead to it since you're on Pascal, but it was one of my buy or sell items was Pascal Siakam is the first repeat most improved player in NBA history, because there seems to be last year it was like that with Giannis where people argued that he could have won. And now it feels like Siakam's like that. Like he already kind of made the star leap, but he, like you said, now he's a revelation squared, basically.
Yeah, I mean, and the funny thing is I was just saying this the other day. I think that actually the trajectory, just in terms of improvement, could parallel with Giannis a lot, because Giannis is definitely the person who we're always saying, wow, he's really gotten better every year. And that hasn't stopped. And with Pascal, I could envision the same thing. I mean, he really worked on parts of his game that you have to actually put in a lot of work to do. It's helpful that the offense came second. I always think that, if guys come in the league with strong defense that carries over, it's easier to learn offense than defense. It just is. Defense is kind of more natural thing. If you're athletically gifted, it's always going to be easier. So yeah, I could definitely see him getting better every year. In terms of becoming the most improved player again, I don't think so. I think that voters love narrative too much, and they love giving guys chances. And also, it might seem like it might discount last year's award. I'm not sure. But also the thing is that Siakam already has MVP odds. They were 100 to 1 to start the season, and as late as Halloween, they were 40 to 1. So I think that if you're in the MVP conversation, that kind of takes you out of most improved player. I think that makes you too good to be the most improved player. So yeah, I don't think he will repeat, but I think that he's going to finish the season. Like if he finishes even on the far outside of the bubble for MVP, that would be huge. I mean, that'd be kind of more of an honor than getting a second most improved player, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I would think his MVP odds had to change a bunch after the Raptors nearly pulled off the back-to-back in LA victories over over the Lakers and the Clippers, and they were missing Lowry and Ibaka. They lost OG in the Clippers game that they ended up losing, but they were competitive, and he's playing next to Matt Thomas and Rondé Hollis Jefferson. It's just that's, I think the Raptors, to the question that I initially asked you, I think they would actually be my pick. I'm not really a Heat guy yet. Maybe I'll be wrong there though, but the Raptors, just with what they've done in the face of injuries, and as you point out with what Siakam's been doing and how they're getting these contributions from their supporting cast that maybe you wouldn't have expected, or maybe you think they'd be dead in the water when Marc Gasol wasn't shooting well until recently. They've just really by far and away impressed me, even as someone who thought if they stayed together they'd be a playoff team.
Yeah, and you should put more respect where Rondé deserves it.
I get nervous whenever he's shooting anything, just from watching him so much when he was in Brooklyn, where he was hitting mid-rangers at a higher clip at one point than he was shooting at the rim. He's an acid trip, but he's been giving them good minutes.
Yeah, he hasn't. It's funny because that's something we attach to certain teams like the Celtics and the Spurs, that the coach is kind of making something out of a player who formerly we didn't have that much. We didn't hold that highly regarded. But I think that Nick Nurse might enter that bubble soon of coaches who have that reputation.
Hey, or maybe I'm sure you saw the quote where he basically shit all over Stanley Johnson and Rondé Hollis Jefferson earlier in the season, and maybe that really sparked something within two of them, or at least Rondé. That's in the early running to me for head coach quote of the year.
Yep, for sure, I agree.
The reverse question on this, is there a team that you expected to be much better than it is right now, or we can even simplify it by saying who's your biggest disappointment of the season thus far?
The Nets. I mean, I loved watching them last year, so it's disappointing. It is, it's fun to see them leave it to Kyrie so many times, so late in the game. I think he really likes the big moment. He kind of has this reputation for being someone who always played better on national TV. I haven't kept up with like if that's true, if that was true through his time with the Celtics, but yeah, I mean, it's disappointing. I loved watching them like scrape together wins last year and it kind of be guys who you either weren't super familiar with or thought that, their career was just what we always assumed it was. So for them especially, it's hard to see a team not progress, after they had a nice season like that, kind of like Boston last year.
Yeah, that is certainly tough, and they obviously don't have Kevin Durant, but I'm kind of with you that I thought they would be better than expected, and I didn't really think that they would be so bad on defense. I didn't think they'd be great. I thought they'd be better there, and I know Amon Shumpert maybe might save the day for them now, but if you end up losing Karis LeVert for any like period of time, that ends up being a huge loss for them because they are sort of slaughtering or trying to beat teams with their offense right now, and he's your second or third best offensive player, depending on how you view Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yeah, and first of all, like that's trouble because you just said the sentence Iman Shumpert might save them. And then also like I really hope LeVert doesn't become one of the guys who's like someone who has to like sit out regularly. That would be really disappointing. He was super fun last year when he was playing. And the same this year. He's someone who I also think like has potential to keep growing each year. So hopefully this injury, his injuries don't keep coming up.
Yeah, I don't think people talked enough, I guess because it was such a short-lived playoff run, but he was carrying the offense against the Sixers when Ben Simmons decided that D'Angelo Russell was never going to score again. And so I'm completely with you there.
Yeah.
So this is a cluster of teams in the West that fascinates me right now. And so if I had to force you to pick 3 of these teams to make the playoffs from the West out of Dallas, Phoenix, Minnesota, San Antonio, Portland, and OKC, which ones would be your pick?
That's tough. I feel really guilty discounting Portland. I'd feel really dumb discounting San Antonio. I didn't pick them to make the playoffs entering the season. We like ran through who we thought were going to make it. But Pop always finds a way. I think Dallas is interesting to me. I do believe that they'll go as far as Luka can take them. Kristaps has a lot to figure out. It often seems like he doesn't know what direction he's going. His hands stop working regularly. He has a lot to figure out. I haven't been impressed with him so far. Phoenix, Minnesota, I think they'll be good, and I think they'll be a team that they'll both be teams that other teams do not want to face. But I don't think that this is the year that they make the playoffs. So, and then OKC, very fun. But I also think that OKC would be open to trading people in the middle of the season. So, because I have to only pick 3, I'll keep them out. I'll keep Phoenix and Minnesota out. So I do Dallas, Portland, and San Antonio.
I think I'd probably agree with you. Maybe that makes me a little too much of a coward, though, because I don't trust Portland at all. And Phoenix, like
I don't either. But I mean, it's like think about their talent. It's too much. It's too much. And maybe also, I mean, this is like they are running out of time. And we saw last year, their roster was really different because they were like, okay, let's get it together. Let's add a Curry. Let's add, like pieces that were important. And then they kind of lost them this offseason. So maybe again, they'll just like revamp it because their time is running out with this backcourt.
I would say if I had to pick a team that's most likely to trade a first round pick or 2 at the trade deadline, it would probably be them because there's definitely that sense of urgency there when you look at their core and that they just extended Dame and CJ over the summer. And I'll still never understand the Hassan Whiteside trade. I guess they need size up front, but he's not really helping them navigate the Zach Collins absence at all.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, he's just a different kind of center who does one specific thing and and that's what he'll always be. And I don't think that he'll ever evolve into anything different.
The last thing on this group, is it almost encouraging to you that Dallas has done so well or fairly well when Porzingis is kind of just floating around out there? Because they're getting absolutely destroyed when Doncic and Porzingis are on the court together, but they're killing the minutes when Doncic is without Porzingis. Their bench has the highest point differential per 100 possessions in the league right now, and I guess that might be saying water is wet because Rick Carlisle coaches this team and always seems to pull a bench out of thin air. But I almost feel like Porzingis probably, like, the connection between him and Doncic, where it seems right now like they're going to have him just try and compliment everybody, and Luka's going to look more for, if Maxi Kleber's on the floor, they're going to have him screen, and Luka will look for him. I would think that synergy between them has to progress, or at the very least, maybe Porzingis gets better at carrying the units in which he plays that Doncic doesn't, because those minutes have been bad for Dallas too. And so to factor all of those kind of, if we call them red flags in, and to see the Mavericks still be above 500 and playing as they are, I'm almost wondering if that's encouraging.
Yeah, here's the thing I'll say is that Luka is averaging, it's almost 30. I think it's like 28 points right now. That I don't know if that's sustainable. That's a lot out of the gate. Porzingis isn't shooting like poorly from three. Let me look. Yeah, he's taking
I think
6 threes a game.
Last time I looked.
He's taking 6 threes a game, and he's shooting them at 37.5%. That's fine. That's totally fine. But he needs everything inside the perimeter. He really needs to figure out. I do think that that'll be possible. Combining them in theory shouldn't have been like this complicated. And then there's the other thing that's like Kristaps maybe just needs time to figure out how to adjust to some. Think about who he was surrounded with in New York. Maybe he really needs to learn how to adjust to other people who are competent, which doesn't seem like it'd be a thing, but
are you saying Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, and Melo aren't a competent core to surround Kristaps Porzingis?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Before I get you out of here, a couple quick hitting buy or sell observations or just statements that I don't necessarily believe, but I'm curious to see what you think. We already tackled the buy or sell Pascal Siakam repeating his MIP. You sold there. Do you buy or sell the Nuggets as a title contender? They might be one of the most fickle, 7-3 teams that I've seen in recent memory.
I think they'll get it together. Their offense is the problem right now, and Jokic shooting is the problem as well. Even though he's had phenomenal game winners that are very fun. Their defense is really good, which is a good sign. I think that for a team like them who should be strong on offense, who we've seen be strong on offense before, I think that they'll be fine. So yes, I do see them getting back to contender level, even if that means like the 3rd or 4th seed in the West.
Your offensive point is beyond salient because the Charlotte Hornets have a more efficient half-court offense than the Nuggets right now, which I would, as much as I love the Hornets, that's a little problematic. And
yeah, it's very strange.
I'm hoping your buy is correct because the Nuggets were my preseason title pick. Got killed for it, but I would like to see them get better so it doesn't look as egregious.
Hopefully it'll age better for you.
Buy or sell, David Fizdale won't last the season in New York.
Okay, so I wrote about this today. I think that he won't last. However, I am lobbying for him to last. I don't think he's ever been given enough time in either of these stints as head coach. The roster makes no sense. He's also 11 games in, so he needs time to figure out how to make this roster, which makes no sense, make sense. He is known to be a player's coach and someone who can develop players, and which they have a ton of. They need that for Frankie Smokes. They need that for Dennis Smith Jr. They need that for Kevin Knox. Mitchell Robinson, already perfect. But they need to, they need developing. So who else? What did Tracy Morgan say the other day? That Mark Jackson was going to come in and coach? Who else should you give a chance and give time to really develop these players? What is the alternative? And what's the rush? You're losing a bunch of these players, these veterans that you signed all at power forward next year because you signed them to 1-year contracts. So what's the rush? You know what I mean? This is going to be another wasted season. Yes, you lost to the Cavs and the Bulls, and they were both very embarrassing. But that's not going to stop just because you get another coach. Fizdale has some very weird lineups right now, but you have to let him work through it. This is a weird roster that has many deficiencies.
I find myself agreeing with you again. I don't think he'll last, but coaching is clearly not the problem. I don't like the front office, but front office not necessarily the problem. It starts with ownership, just with the people he's allowed to stay in place for so long, and James Dolan being the asshat that he is. So that's really, and as long as he's owning the Knicks I just don't trust that they're ever going to be anything close to a typical functioning team.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm sorry to do this to you, but buy or sell load management.
Uh oh, bye. I'm never like somebody who it's just fine. Like these guys, their entire job is based around their body. I'm never someone who's going to be like, don't take time to care for your body. I mean, I understand how annoying it might be for people who bought tickets and paid a lot of money, or
Right.
the team itself. But here's the thing is that team that the player's on who is resting is consciously letting that player rest with the risk of it meaning that they could lose that game. So they are taking that risk. And that is, that's worth it for every team. If they decide that that's worth it, then it's worth it. And that's up to the player and that's up to the team. Yeah, so I honestly, I've never minded it, but I don't pay to go to games, obviously. So a little
Yes,
different.
yes, same. But I still get the fan perspective. At the same time, it's some of this could be addressed with the schedule, and it's unrealistic to demand the NBA shorten it immediately. But simple things like not scheduling the Clippers on back-to-back national television games, or having either one end of a back-to-back on national television hurts. And I would actually even go one step further, where yes, it kind of is about the long game in a single season, load management. But I don't know if you saw Jackie Mack dunk all over Kendrick Perkins on the jump on ESPN, but she was noting about what Kevin McHale and Larry Bird's bodies are like after their career. And so for someone who could have like a degenerative injury in his quad like Kawhi Leonard, or just someone who's been dealing with injuries for the past few years like him, you also want to at least think that these teams care about like the quality of life after the game, or at
Mhm.
least that's a
Mhm.
concern. So I fully support load management. It'd be cool if we could come up with like a better name, maybe like championship maintenance or something like that. But
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
I don't love load management. It's always sounded a bit perverse to me.
Buy or sell one of the Hawks or Hornets making the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. I can include the
uh,
Cavaliers in this too, if you would like.
you can chill out on the Cavaliers. The Hawks for sure. I love Trae Young. He's fantastic. I think that as long as he stays healthy, and that injury isn't recurring, then yeah, he can take this team very far. And they also have a lot of other exciting young guys who I think are only going to get better as the season goes on.
I want to be the hot taker that just buys the Hornets, but their point differential is crap. But still, again, they are watchable. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Buy or sell a star who isn't Kevin Love or Chris Paul getting traded at the deadline. You are free to as loosely interpret the word star as you would like.
Hmm.
Hashtag
Um,
Danilo Gallinari.
Perhaps, honestly. I think that, I was talking earlier about Dragic. I think that could happen. I think that needs to happen. So maybe I'm just trying to will it into existence. But yeah, I think, Miami is also a team that is kind of running out of patience, even though they just signed Jimmy over the summer. I think that they feel an urgency to be relevant again. And if he begins to hold them back, I mean, they have a couple of players right now who are holding them back. I mean, I think that they could get much further with someone like a Chris Paul. So I guess that's kind of cheating because I'm including him too. But yeah, I think Dragic for sure.
Dragic too. I don't know if the same. I don't know if the Florida teams would trade it with one another, but Orlando could use Goran Dragic pretty badly.
Hmm.
The last two I have here, and this kind of I guess is ties into the Pascal Siakam thing a little bit, where not only voter fatigue is going to factor into that most improved player thing plus his MVP candidacy, but if there's another deserving most improved player candidate, it makes it that much easier to avoid him. And so, buy or sell Brandon Ingram's hot start as legitimate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, I think that there's no doubt that when Zion comes back, it doesn't have to minimize what Brandon Ingram is doing, and the things that he's doing better are not things that are going to even out too significantly. Like we always talk about, everything calming down after a couple of weeks. I think that the things he's worked on, I mean, obviously, like I think that they're definitely sustainable, and I'm not just being, optimistic about this because we've wanted him to be the next Kevin Durant for years, and I don't think he ever will be. But I think that if he's this type of Brandon Ingram and he continues to get better, then that will be enough. And also, I'm really cheering for it to happen. So And also, like that team is a bit scattered but injury prone. So he might have to carry like the load during, different times of the season. I hope that Zion comes back and is completely healthy. I hope that, Drew doesn't have to exit multiple times. Lonzo has also had injury issues in the past. So he could have to take on more than we're expecting. And also, he is still leading the most valuable or the most improved player odds. Sorry. You know me, I check it daily.
Yeah, I think I would say it's at least relatively sustainable what he's doing. The one thing I've noticed, and not that I'm like this X's and O's savant, but it does seem like his offense can now sort of function as more a part of a team flow when you look at how he's kind of looking at the rim more when he's catching the ball and shooting more catch and shoot threes. And I think that gives him hope for if the Pelicans rotation and health ever sort of does stabilize, because if you have Lonzo and Drew and then Zion all healthy at once, I don't know that he's going to get carte blanche on the touches that he's getting now, but the way he's kind of scoring in certain spurts, I think it actually can fit within a team's offensive dynamic better than what we saw during his time with the Lakers.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, the Lakers thing is that they didn't really have an offensive dynamic. They needed him to do things that he never fit to do. I mean, they had a non-existent system. They had to fit around the, most. I mean, they legitimately, like anyone who plays with LeBron should have to fit around him, but that's no way for young players to grow. I mean, that's really hard. You need to have you have players around him who already know what they are and know how they can complement him. You can't grow into that. So yeah, this is a much better setup for him, no doubt.
My final one on the buy or sell, and you wrote about this, and I was happy you did, about how the Warriors have become almost these sympathetic figures, because a lot of NBA Twitter does still seem to be basking in their demise, but they reached a point with all what happened over the offseason, all the injuries they've suffered this year, where I start to feel bad for them, and like I don't even want to make jokes about them because it feels mean. Do you think that those are vibes that could carry over into next season, even if they're returning to title contention, or will it be pretty easy then to root against them? So I'm basically asking you to buy or sell the idea that Golden State, even if it returns to title contention next year, can still be a likable team.
Well, they're first going to have to get there. I got a lot of blowback on that. I said you should learn to love the Warriors again because they were so adored before. I should have just said enjoy. If you watch their games, you will enjoy. I mean, they have a lot of fun pieces that are brand new and that you can see and pick up on and get excited and maybe hope one day they'll be traded to your team. I mean, it is very much like it is brand new to watch them. And for so long, we knew exactly what we were getting from the Warriors. And we only really enjoyed their games when it was pretty obvious they were going to lose. I think perhaps it could carry over into next season, but they won't be a title team. They won't. Like Klay Thompson and Steph Curry and another year older Draymond Green and D'Angelo Russell, who may or may not be traded. And if not, I don't know how they're going to fit him in with someone like Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. They're not going to be a title contender next season.
Ooh, I think that's the only one I disagree with you there, but I also build the Warriors as a playoff team this season over the summer, so what the hell do I know? Haley, thank you so much for your time. If you guys are not following Haley, who is an NBA staff writer for The Ringer writes fantastic articles over there, follow her immediately on Twitter at HaleyOsomething, HaleyOsomething, excuse me. Broken record style, Haley, thanks again for coming on, and I'm sure I will be pestering you once again in the future.
Thanks, Dan.